The F2 Creator Series Circus shows up in Abu Dhabi this week. It's going to be an absolutely thrilling race, I am sure. And today, with me doing the commentating, I have Joseph Simmons. Joseph, how are you doing?
Good as always. How are you?
Supreme, it must be said. I always enjoy some lovely circuit racing. It's going to be one of those tracks where audacious moves are going to win the race, I am sure. I've got notification that already the racing will be underway in probably a few minutes, so we will have a brief time to talk about stuff like the standings. How excited are you for today's race?
I'm definitely very excited. Abu Dhabi is a track where moves don't necessarily have to be forced, but generally you have to either force an error or make your way past in an audacious way, because the two main overtaking zones are out of the straight down into the chicane and then straight off of that into the medium speed corner right after it. So it's going to be interesting. Drivers have to be gutsy, and I'm certainly excited to see them be so.
A tactical race for sure. I think we will see different setups. Obviously, there's quite a few long straights here, but also that third sector, which is oh so important for closing in. And I've just been notified that indeed the lobby is almost underway. So we are going to have very little time in terms of just chatting about it before we see the actions put into practice at Abu Dhabi. Obviously, I just want to give a quick shout out to B-Roy in a very, very difficult time for himself and his family, having sadly lost his dear mother. So B-Roy, if you are watching, our thoughts are with you, and we wish that the memories are cherished forever.
Yeah, definitely so.
And indeed, it's always difficult when you have such a closely knit community, and it's difficult sometimes to find the proper words to say, indeed. But what we can do is go racing for you and have the action get underway. This is what B-Roy would have wanted. So here we go with Gareth Allen on pole, reverse grid right now. And indeed, the racing already off to a pretty clean start, it must be said.
Definitely, Gareth Allen getting a huge launch off of the line. He's almost broken the DRS range of Jess Ball already. And right behind them, you've got all of the drivers are threading through. We could have 3 wide for third position. We don't. Instead, it is 2 wide right behind, as that's G-Watts up. Sorry, not G-Watts. Gwatts up, as you can see in his username. He climbs up. But Gareth Allen already breaking that 1 second gap to Jess Ball right behind him.
Yeah, this might be a really big dive bomb for second place. Always you want to gain the positions and a few lockups. We've got a 4 wide there, mid-back with Hoodie Pete, Hayden Gullis, Slack RC, fighting it out at the back. The 2 Red Bull liveried cars here, fighting it for second place. Going to go 2 wide into this very long changed corner now, a hairpin, which used to be a chicane. We have a collision at the back, Razenchi and I think Emphatic coming together, which is not the start they would have wanted. Recovering, and it does look a little bit of wing damage as well. That is not the start they would have wanted.
Definitely, but at least they know that it's only the sprint race. The feature race is going to be what really matters. Looking down the inside, who was that that's just gone round? There's a couple of drivers who had a spin. It was the green car of, is that Yours Sincerely, who span round, and he was followed in by Hayden Gullis. And they've both gone for a spin. Yours Sincerely was making a move for that P4 position. He's now dropped all the way back down. It's looking side by side as Gareth Allen crosses the line. He's in the lead. Gwatts looks to take P2 ahead of Pond, and indeed he does. Luke Howick looks to the inside. He could make the move, but he just tucks back in. Pondon goes wide on the exit though, and Luke is invited back in there side by side as they head through the first sector. Now it's going to be down to the first or second braking zone of the lap, where Luke is going to seal that position. Pondon though breaking late around the outside. Luke with a tiny little lockup on the exit, but he seals that position. Just behind them as well, Jess Ball and Hoodie Pete side by side. Jess starting on the front row has lost a few positions. She could lose another as they head down the straight. It's going to be side by side as who can brake later. It looks like Pete brakes later than Jess, and he nabs that P6.
Yeah, indeed, we've got just having a little bit of problems out of that chicane, losing 2 spots actually to Dark Viper and Adam Sanderson. I think another one to Cryzex now. So a very bad exit there. It's very, very interesting to see already some cars struggling with rear traction. We've had multiple times this season where the cars have just not been performing. As you can see, the tires maybe even already overheating. It would be a terrible disappointment for some drivers if they have to manage the tires a little bit. But yeah, a lot of drivers been struggling with the traction, struggling with the general snappiness of the car. And Guatz and Luke Howick really fighting it out. No, sorry, that's Gareth Allen and Guatz fighting it out. So there could be a lead change on this lap. It's certainly looking racy at the front, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Guatz has been ridiculously quicker over that last lap, picking up the fastest of them all as he's pulled in a second on Gareth Allen. In the meantime, who's that? Pondon losing another position down to P3. Could be losing another one to the other Prema car of Pete as they head down the hill. It could be 3 wide as they head in. It is going to be 3 wide, and it's the inside line for Pete. It's the outside for Viper, and Pondon loses out. Viper actually gets ahead of Pete as well, and there could be a switch for the lead. There is a switch for the lead. Guatz gets ahead of Gareth Allen. So he takes the lead of this race, and he has certainly been the quickest so far in this sprint race.
Yeah, Guat's on a very good run in these past few races. So he's looking to extend the points gap a little bit, get himself back into the, real big points paying positions. As Gareth Allen tries to go around the outside there, tries to have a little bit of a move, but obviously around the outside here, you've got more distance to cover, and that move was really never on the cards. You'll have to wait until the next DRS straight, as this third sector is really, really difficult. Razan Chi really not having the best of races here. I think he spun 2 or 3 times and fighting with yours sincerely there at the back. We've got a yellow flag, I think, for just a few people making contact here. Pondon, Hoodie, Pete, and Sanderson losing a few places there, according to the leaderboard, because we got a 3 wides. That's exactly why it is. Look at that. Not exactly the place where you want to be racing, as you want to keep that DRS and keep that momentum. But it looks like Hoodie Pete struggling for traction a little bit. He could be vulnerable into the next DRS zones.
Somebody who's not going to be vulnerable into the next DRS zones is going to be Guatz, who is now a second and climbing ahead of Gareth Allen. But Luke Howitt picking up the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He's looking to get a bit racy with Gareth as the yellow flag as Razin goes round again. But Luke Howitt and Gareth Allen will be scrapping it out. Gareth will not have the DRS at his disposal, and Luke just looks to seal that second place. Does he do it? Gareth's going to slot back into the slipstream, but it's not going to be enough. Although he will have DRS down the back straight. It's not really a straight. It's a bit more of a curve. But DRS will be available nonetheless. And he will have it now, closing as much as he possibly can. It will be a ballsy move. If he manages to go in, it's going to be not quite close enough, because Luke's straight line speed is just about enough to stay ahead of Gareth.
Yeah, that's the real difficulty with this track. You have a compromised setup, and it's certainly turning out so that some drivers are able to go a lot more on the defensive. I'm seeing a lot of front wings here being damaged, so a lot of drivers might be struggling. I think F1 Alex might be one of those with some minor damage there. It certainly looks like it from the overhead point of view there. So he's effectively the cork in the bottle here compared to the front runners, sort of holding people up, trying to do his best with a bit of damage on the car. So we'll have to wait and see as he gets a warning and indeed a penalty for that. And that is our first penalty of the evening. Very, very difficult to stay within the track limits. You can see you've got all of this track to use to extend, and you can see some actually major front wing damage, I think, on that car. So that's going to be hampering him quite a lot. Can he defend? I think Cryzex has damage as well. So yeah, not gone well for our midfield pack, let's put it that way.
Definitely not, because a lot of the drivers, maybe they are going for moves that are a little bit more ballsy than the rest of them. I think that incident earlier where you're sincere in the final sector really had a dramatic effect on the rest of the field. Adam Sanderson now moves up ahead of F1 Alex. He started near the rear of the grid. Hayden Gullis also making a move on Pete, almost making a move as well on Hondon. But Sanderson is looking like he's leading this, or he's leading this pack in terms of pace. He just needs to get past Kryzix. But Hondon could be making a move. Sanderson is making a move. He's up into 5th. F1 Alex is down the inside of Kryzix, and he's up into 6th. Away, taking it away from Kryzix. But there was yellow flags out again. I think Razin went round again, so he will be wanting to come back in this sprint race. This will be pretty much a test session as he gets ready for that second race of the evening.
Yes, and just looking at the minimap here, Razin pulling it into the pits, I think maybe to retire from the race. He's just been lapped, and I think he just managed to catch or get caught out by the leader there in that race. It looks like he's going for a pit stop, so I'm not sure if he's going to retire, and indeed he does retire from the session. So unfortunately our first DNF of the session here. But yeah, it just proves how you've got to keep the racing clean. You've got to make sure that you don't make a mistake. Maybe some rear wing damage having an effect there, some irreparable damage. But I'm seeing a huge amount of cars, at least half of the cars here, with some damage. So this racing has been very argy-bargy as we've got Pondon versus Hayden Gullis here racing, trying to get that strategic DRS. And indeed, they're going to go side by side. Very, very common to go side by side here. And Hayden Gullis with the DRS, as we've got F1 Alex retiring from the race once again. The exact same thing as in Las Vegas. He's really not bringing home the points that he needs to keep himself in this championship hunt. That's going to be absolutely devastating for him.
Definitely, but he's shown that he has the pace, because he was matching pretty much the top of around that 5th place sort of battle, as Luke picks up a 3-second time penalty. That will play into the podium battle at the end of this race. Duck Viper 2 seconds off of him, and Gareth just half a second off of him as well. So the top 4, or ignoring Watts actually, but the top 3 in terms of 2nd, 3rd and 4th, they could be battling. Duck Viper also picks up a 3-second time penalty. Both of those have suddenly swung the pendulum in Gareth Allen's favour, and he could be on for a sneaky 2nd place if he can keep in touch with Dark Viper, as we've got the last 5 laps of this race to complete. We've got a few drivers actually in strong positions with penalties. You've got Dark Viper and Luke Howick both with 3 seconds. You've got Adam Sanderson as well, the lead of that pack, with a 3-second time penalty. So all of these drivers, they're just going to try and keep it clean now, because it could elevate them significantly up the order.
Ironically, Dark Viper is exactly where he wants to be, even with the penalty. He's in front of all of his championship rivals, as we've got Zach RC getting a penalty as well, although he is quite far down in the race, probably testing the track limits a little bit before the feature race. As we've got a move going on, Hoodie Pete trying to get past Pondon, has made it done with the DRS now. Will Blackmere get through as well? It looks side by side, a little bit sort of concealed with the smoke, and it is indeed Pondon defending for the moment, but we've got another DRS straight. Let's see what they can do here on board briefly with Pondon, and actually it looks like Pondon's not got the straight line speed. He's under pressure into this braking zone, manages to defend it just about. Going back to my previous point, Dark Viper is exactly where he wants to be, because Adam Sanderson and indeed F1 Alex are behind him in the standings this race, so he will still gain points on them. And with Dragonflies not racing in this one, he possibly will take the absolute lead of the championship even after this small sprint race.
Gareth Allen has dropped off quite significantly off of the back of Dark Viper on this last lap. It's 2.4 seconds between the two drivers. So Dark Viper could be holding on to it. Is that somebody going round in the background? That looks like it was Blackmere who was applying the pressure just before to Pondon, and he's just lost the rear, and he drops down into P13, able to get it going eventually, but he had to let the entire field go back past. So unfortunately for him, he's going to have to save that pace for the 1 lap sprint, the 1 lap qualifying, and then the feature race afterwards. Adam Sanderson looking to gain 5th place back off Kryzix. He had it just a couple of laps ago. And Hayden Gullis as well looking to get involved. Adam Sanderson takes P5. Hayden to the inside of Kryzix. and Kryzik backs out of the move as they head into the chicane. But Hayden will want to get past Adam Sanderson because he's got a 3-second time penalty. Sanderson, that is, because Gullis, he'll want to climb back up because he can see that the gap between this little mini group and Gareth Allen is shrinking. P4 could be on as Hayden Gullis passes Sanderson now. He's got 4.7 seconds to bridge. It's already coming down to 4.5, and he's only completed one more corner. There's yellow flags out once again. Hoodie Pete is the latest driver to go round to lose the rear, and as a result, lose his momentum.
Yeah, I think that might have been a collision with Chesnoid Gaming. They were very, very close on the minimap there, and it could be that, well, very struggling with the rear, obviously, that he spun out. Those tyres will not, well, they'll be cooking quite literally, let's put it that way. It's always difficult to regain momentum, but he will be reassured, at least, that he had some good pace in this sprint race. I think, obviously, Hayden Gullis going for it a little bit more as well, because he was only going to gain 1 or 2 points before those maneuvers, so there was not much to lose in trying to go for additional positions, and it looks like the gap is coming down, but will it be enough? We only have 4 laps here, and the gap is still 3.5 seconds.
Absolutely, but if Gareth Allen gets a penalty, that will completely swing it on his head, and he's not that far behind. You can see him on the screen just there, Gareth Allen disappearing off. But Hayden's closed in by a second. On this current trajectory, Hayden, Adam and Kryzik are going to catch up to him by the end of this race. So Gareth Allen really needs to get a wriggle on if he wants to cling on to this P4. The top 3 is pretty much confirmed now unless anything goes wrong. But we have seen a few drivers make quite significant mistakes. And Adam Sanderson, he's looking to race Hayden Gullis, is he? As he goes around the outside, they are side by side as they head through, but Sanderson's not going to fight it too hard because he knows that the benefit is minimal. Because he knows if he can catch up to Gareth Allen, if they can pass, then that's pretty much another free position gain. If the trajectory they're going on is, if it's confirmed. Because although Adam has that 3-second time penalty, the pace they're going is that they're going to catch up to Gareth Allen. This, though, is a battle for P2. Both of them have 3 seconds worth of time penalties. Dark Viper's closed in 2 seconds in the last 2 laps. So Luke Howick there may have been an issue for him, or he may just be a little bit slower. Those tyres could be struggling at the end of the race because we saw that he was pushing them hard earlier on. And Dark Viper may have just had the opportunities that he's climbed up, because he's climbed up from P14 all the way up to P3 at the start of this race. And he's going to have DRS. He's going to open it down this straight. If he stays behind Luke, he gets 2 doses of it. If he doesn't, he'll get just the 1, and then he's going to have to defend. He looks like he's going to try it down the inside into the chicane, and Dark Viper gets up into P2. Luke, though, I don't know who has the DRS because they went side by side through that section. It looks like it's going to be Luke with the DRS. Can he fight back, or is he not quite close enough? It looks like he's not quite close enough, and he's going to have to tuck back in, but with just 2 laps left of this race, this battle for P2 is definitely on. Looking slightly further back as well, Adam Sanderson and Hayden Gullis side by side. Sanderson got ahead. Gullis is wide in his attempt to gain that position right back, but he looks like he's going to be successful. And it's only 1.8 seconds now to Gareth Allen, and it's coming down by the corner.
Indeed, they're just fighting with each other at this point, and it's actually delaying them in getting towards Gareth Allen, who's been having an excellent race, it must be said. He's been getting unlucky in the last few attempts. This one, it looks like it's going to plan, which obviously means something's now going to happen in the last 2 laps now that I've said that, as we've got a little yellow flag. I think it's somebody spinning off. I think that's Zach RC just getting back underway. Yes, it was Zach RC, just with a little spin there. So already I think just testing the limits of braking, to be fair, into that chicane, it looks like. As indeed Dark Viper seems to be getting away from Luke Howick now. Although Luke Howick is just ever so slightly still within DRS, there is still hope of getting that position back. I think they both have a 3-second time penalty, so this is for position still, but they do have to worry about that gap behind. As Gareth Allen is now under pressure from Hayden Gullis, they have DRS. This might be the chance to go for it, to get that overtake done. This will be for position. Does he go for it? Yes, he chucks it up the inside, gets it very late on the brakes, is ahead by the apex, but Gareth Allen goes for it as well, saying, I am not going to let you have this, sunshine. You're going to have to fight for it. And indeed he will, but unfortunately without DRS, he's kind of a sitting duck right now. Moves to the inside, trying to get that slipstream. He's going to have to defend the inside, and indeed it was nearly another situation with a 3 wide, and I think it is Adam Sanderson, getting himself just up the inside. And this is going to be very, very tricky now, as we've got the sort of turning braking section here, as Adam Sanderson just throws it across the bow of Gareth Allen, and just, I think, keeps it within track limits. It's a little bit argy-bargy, and Kryzik just goes up the inside of both of them. This is absolute chaos for the battle for 5th place right now, and I think Kryzik is going to come off worse there. Gareth Allen just defending like a lion right there, and Adam Sanderson hasn't even managed to get away there. So a battle now into the last lap of the race. Some quite aggressive driving, but I'm sure we'll see more on this lap.
Absolutely, and I think especially considering the fact that Gareth Allen and Kryzik are essentially fighting for 5th place here, and they're going to have to consider it, because if they fight too hard, they run the risk of dropping behind those 3 seconds that Adam Sanderson has. But if they don't fight enough, then they have the risk of not even picking up that 5th place. But looking further up, Luke Howick has closed in the first DRS zone. He's about to get DRS in the second, but a poor exit out of the chicane looks like it sealed the position for Dark Viper. Luke Howick just has nothing left to fight for that position, and Dark Viper has confirmed it. Gareth Allen and Kryzik will have DRS for the final time in this race. It looks like Kryzik's to the outside. He could be switching. He is switching to the inside line. Covering off is Adam Sanderson on Gareth Allen. As Allen looks ahead, he's down the inside and he's through on Sanderson. Sanderson runs wide. He runs so very wide, but somehow he still holds on to 6th place ahead of Kryzik's. Looking ahead though, it's going to be the dominant Gwatz, who wins the race. Dark Viper in 2nd, Luke Howick in 3rd. Coming across the line, Zach in 15th and last, but Hayden Gullis picks up a very well-earned 4th place. But further back, Gareth Allen picks up 5th ahead of Kryzik's because of Adam Sanderson's 3-second time penalty, but those 3 fought at hammer and tongue right until the very end.
Yeah, Chesnoid with the last point across the line there, with fighting with Pondon. Pondon will be disappointed to lose that one, but a good recovery drive from Chesnoid Gaming, who I think had a few issues at the start there. So yeah, very, very tricky race there, with Infratic finishing 100th of a second behind Hoodie Pete as well. So quite a few battles there going on. Some stuff that will indeed be reprised in the feature race, I can guarantee you. Some grudges will be held. This is this kind of track where the racing is somewhat argy-bargy and they have to be a tiny bit aggressive, as I think now we have the last driver across the line, yours sincerely. His race was good, but indeed that one mistake can cost you everything, especially in such a short race. And yeah, I must say congratulations to Bratz for that, well, just exemplary drive, it must be said. Just taking the lead on, I think, lap 2 it was, and just driving away and leaving everybody else battle. Exemplary.
Absolutely. I think he just demonstrated that he had pace over everybody. From the lights to the flag, he was completely just dominant throughout that race, and it never really looked in doubt that he was going to take that victory in that sprint race. But the feature race is a completely different being. He'll pick up those 11 points because of that victory and the fastest lap, but we will have to wait and see if Gwatz can take victory in the feature race, and if I can pronounce his name right across the line.
Well, I mean, you can always go the other way and just mispronounce it all the time. That's the other way of doing it. That's my preferred way of doing it. But indeed, yes, it must be said. Dark Viper as well, having a huge drive there to extend, I think, the championship lead now into his grasp. And he'll be looking to get a good quality session as well, and just sort of running away with it. Although the pace here looks very, very close, it must be said.
Oh, it definitely does. And a lot of the drivers who made mistakes have supreme pace, and they really will have the opportunity to catch back up. And most likely, I think we could be seeing a different winner. And if they stay mistake-free, I think we could see about 4 or 5 drivers fighting for that win.
Yeah, indeed. And there's a few drivers that do need to fight for those points now, including F1 Alex. He's got a mountain to climb, it must be said, just in terms of confidence, really. It all went wrong for him in Las Vegas, and he's kind of lost grasp of the championship ever since Australia, where that safety car just derailed his race. It's not gone well. I think maybe a little bit of pressure creeping in, and when it gets like that, it can become so difficult to just get a grasp on it again, get a feeling of being in control, I'd say, mainly being the main difficulty. And so he's looking to have a good qualifying now and a good feature race, and if not, Dark Viper will be fighting with Adam Sanderson, I'm sure, for the win of this championship, because there's only 3 rounds left, of which we've had one half of the third to last round. So there's not too many points now on offer. You've got to start thinking about those championship standings.
Definitely, I think you do really have to start thinking about the championship. You have to start playing the game tactically. If you're not having a great weekend, you can still come back and you can still pick up some points, and even a little bit, even a couple of points could go the whole way in taking victory in the championship. But this track is unforgiving, so are these cars, and so any little mistake can be punished. And I think a lot of these drivers are waiting for mistakes from others. But at the moment, well, Dark Viper took that race by the scruff of its neck, heading into that, because he finished, was he P2 or P3? I don't remember who finished ahead, to be honest.
Dark Viper ahead of Luke Howarth.
I thought so.
If I remember
right.
correct.
He's...
Yeah, it's definitely sort of another way of putting his mark on the championship, really. He's been very, very good at, let's say, getting the points on the board, profiteering from other people's mistakes. But I just want to also point out as well, a great race from Gareth Allen, who's had quite a few mishaps, it must be said, a few contacts here and there, some good maneuvers, it must be said, but some often just ending up being a bridge too far, let's call it. So that was indeed great racing from him, very opportunistic at the end with Adam Sanderson and Krajicek, sort of playing them against each other and then swooping in on the last lap to take the position off of both of them. That's what we like to see.
He did very well, considering the fact that he did start dropping, because you can get a little bit demotivated when you start dropping down the order. But he did end up he did end up coming back, having a little pace fight back at the end of that race, which is why he was able to fight with Adam so hard for that P5 position, obviously taking it at the end. But that's really what we like to see. We got a 3-car battle on the final lap, all of them desperate to take that P5.
Yeah, we've seen a tendency on this track, actually, to have a few DRS trains and the pack splitting into sort of bottlenecks of drivers being a bit slower than the others. And how do you think that's going to happen then in the feature race, with strategy coming into play, obviously that mandatory pit stop? Do you think we'll see sort of some tactics coming out of trying to break DRS or slow people down so that they kind of battle with each other? DRS looks quite powerful around here.
It definitely does look extremely powerful, because you've got those 2 straights that back onto each other, and I think there'll be lots and lots of games played with those 2 specific straights. We'll see a lot of overtakes into the chicane and into the corner straight after that second one. I just definitely think that all these drivers are going to play this as strategically as they possibly physically can. I'm excited to watch it.
So I've got another question for you as well, because it's the question that every commentator dreads. Who's going to be on pole position for the feature race?
Well, you just have to... The way that I'm working this out is I'm looking at the drivers who were quick throughout the start of that, throughout the sprint race, because that's where the out-and-out pace comes. And I think Gwatz has a really, really strong opportunity here to take that pole position.
Yeah, certainly the confidence will be high, and that counts when you're trying to get the utmost out of the car on one single lap. But we've seen it so many times before where, given the opportunity of just one shot qualifying where you can't even prepare at your own pace for the start of the lap, some drivers have gotten a track limits warning, other drivers have made small mistakes. It can be so random or so peaky in terms of performance that often we can get some surprising results, let's say. I certainly think probably Dark Viper will be up there. Maybe not on pole, but it looks like his consistency is on point at the moment. Obviously, F1 Alex needs to just put it on pole and drive away with this race to get himself back in the championship standings. But there's a lot of drivers with not a lot to lose at this stage in the championship.
Definitely. There is not one weekend or one race of a mistake could be the end of your championship battle, and that could be what we're seeing for Alex today, unless he can pull it out of the bag. And we're definitely not saying he can't, because although the sprint race brings you points, it has no bearing when it comes to the feature. So this one-shot qualifying is going to be crucial for his championship.
Yeah, indeed. Although those 8 points that Dark Viper has collected makes it even more difficult, because there is, well, still 25 points on offer in the feature race, but that's a third, let's say, of the points. So the sprint races are where we've seen drivers like F1 Alex sort of lose ground in the championship. Dark Viper and indeed Adam Sanderson as well, one of the drivers just able to get those points consistent, and that has made all of the difference. There is a lot of I'd say questions as to how the driver is going to play this. Do you think they're going to play this, let's say, cautiously now that the points are on offer, or do you think they'll just go all out for it?
I think they're going to be a little bit more cautious than they were, but why not go all out? That's my attitude. That's why I'm not racing in this. But that's definitely my attitude when it comes to racing. And yeah, we'll have to see. A lot of the drivers are going to be split, but yeah, we're going to have to wait to see. By the way, I think your mic is coming through your webcam and not.
And I have just changed it around there, so my apologies for that one. I do not really know why that happened, but there we go. Good old technical issues. I hope the sound is okay now. My apologies for that. So yes, indeed, hey, having webcam audio is a good thing. It means that at least you're able to hear me. But yes, who knows? Who knows? Anyway, that being said, technical issues can crop up for our drivers as well, as sometimes there's a lot of sort of things that can happen at a live broadcast. Is different from a recording in that way. That's why we love it as well, because anything can happen. By the way, thank you, Mr. Dale, for the technical insights there. As I've just been informed as well that we are going to go into the race, or the qualifying, sorry, well, in the next few minutes. Let's put it that way.
I hope we get going as soon as possible, because this race is going to be exciting, and I can't wait for us to get going, because it's going to be an exciting race. We're going to have a lot of battles that are going on. It's going to last a bit longer than the sprint race, and so it's going to be a lot more strategic. There's going to be a lot more strategy brought into it. But we're going to head to the one-shot qualifying. And yeah, who do you think is going to come out on top as Hayden Gullis leads into turn one? But it's a very minimal lead, I would imagine.
Well, it can make all the difference, really, in that they have to absolutely sort of go for it right from the get-go in this one, as the first and third sector is where you can really make a difference in this one. As we see Dark Viper go all the way to the top at the moment, but Hayden Gullis is really on the ball with this one, so he could get a good result in qualifying. That will help him in terms of confidence as well, being able to cut through the pack there in that sprint race. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see. In terms of sort of off the pace at the moment, I think F1 Alex and actually F1 Alex Adam Sanderson have already dropped out of this qualifying. So that is absolutely the worst that they could have expected for the championship here.
Definitely. I've also noticed the appearance of Tiamat Marduk, who he wasn't in the sprint race. I didn't see much of him.
He's tagging on just for the fun of it, trying to cause a little bit of chaos. No worries with that. Indeed, as we get to the third sector, now this is where you have to have a little bit left in the tires. You cannot have them overheating at all. You need to be just on the limit to the last corner. Maybe the last corner you can afford to spin up the tires a little bit as Dark Viper looks to go across the line now. And oh my days, it was ever so close at the top, with less than 0.2 of a second between Dark Viper and Cryzix on the front row. Hayden Gullis in third place there. That is a great result for the top three.
Definitely a very good result, but Hayden pretty much had the lead for a lot of that lap, so I think he'll be slightly disappointed with that after all that, but he's only 0.3 off. So the drivers are going to be, as they go to the 5 lights, the drivers are going to know that they have it all to play for. Even minimal gains are going to be huge gains as we head into this race, because we could have Cryzix. He could pull off the line. He was almost 0.2 off a Dark Viper, but he could pull off the line, drive off into the distance. That could be the opportunity that he takes. The start is going to be absolutely crucial, because all of these drivers are pretty tight-knit. And, well, we are going to get ready for the race.
Well, I have to shout out a little bit to Razin and Infratic on their good qualifying performance. I think P5 and P6, if I remember the leaderboard correctly. That'll be in big contrast to their sprint race. So as you can see, the qualifying, a chance to redeem yourself, a chance to go at it again. And indeed, as the anticipation builds up to the feature race, this, I've got goosebumps right now. I always love the start of a race. This is one of the tracks where you really have to go at it right from the get-go to get into the strategic position that you want to be in on that second sector of the lap, because so much time can be lost in the chicanes and indeed in the third sector if you're behind a car that doesn't have the confidence in the tires right from the get-go in the race. Who will be able to get into that operating window? Who will lose out? We're about to find out in a few seconds as the lights light up for the last time this evening, but it's going to be glorious, and lights out and away we go again for the feature race. And it looks like Dark Viper got a great start, with Cryzix also getting alongside. Hayden Gullis a little bit sketchy there with Gratz alongside already. He'll be forced out wide here, but just holding the position there. Supreme driving. Gratz going for a different strategy there on the softer compound tires, so he'll be looking to get past at the shortest notice. Up the inside he goes. There we go. The front two, I think, on the softer compound as well. So Hayden Gullis, one of the only drivers of the top 10, in fact, the only driver in the top 10, starting on those harder compound tires. Interesting strategy.
Oh, definitely. It's actually not the alternative strategy. It's actually the main strategy to start on the softs and switch at the end. Mediums maybe will cost Hayden Gullis a few positions at the start, because he got off to a poor one and Gwatz got ahead of him. It looks like Infratic is going to take the position as well as he heads up the hill up to the medium speed corner at the end of these two straights that we'll see so many overtakes made in today. That's not going to be one of them, as Hayden stays ahead, because those medium compound tyres, although they don't benefit him through the corners, the straights, they have absolutely no difference. So as you head to the end of the straights, as well as Tiamat Marduk has gone round, and that's going to be pretty much the end of his contribution to this race. But Dark Viper is going to lead at the end of this first lap. Cryzix just tagging along behind And Guat's already 1.6 seconds behind, but we know that's because he was desperately trying to get past Hayden Gullis. He has been successful, and the pace that he's shown so far this weekend, we know that that DRS gap that Cryzix has over Guat's could be cut down in the matter of just maybe even half a lap.
Of course, another thing they've got to think about now is a safety car. We've had it so many times in the last couple of races. Will we see one today? I'm not quite sure. We haven't seen one in the sprint race, so it's optimistic at the moment, but Hayden Gullis will be wanting to sort of bank on that safety car to sort of throw him a line here, as he seems to be losing quite a bit of time, although Gratz doesn't seem to be catching up, to be honest, as we've got somebody spinning around. I think it's Tiet Marduk again. Yes, it is indeed. That has not gone well for Tiet Marduk at the moment, but indeed he's doing us a favor and getting out of the battles in the pack. We think we've got Hoodie Pete spun around as well. I think another driver as well, Blackmere, maybe even Jess Bull called up in that one. So not gone well for those, and virtual safety car has been deployed. A little bit of a chance to relax for the drivers to get a strategy, as interestingly Hoodie Pete tapped the wall there under safety car. That's not the first time I've seen that happen with Punju in the I think the F1 race in Australia, hitting the wall as well. So yeah, an interesting strategy to be tapping the wall during a virtual safety car.
Could be causing himself damage, trying to make himself come into the pits. But you were just saying just a couple of minutes ago that we hadn't had a safety car in the sprint race, but a lot of the incidents that we've had could have caused safety cars. This one caused a virtual one, and I think definitely we're going to come across the line to start this race once again. DRS will be enabled, and so some of the drivers are going to benefit from that. Cryzix is going to be one of them. What's not quite yet. He's 1.7 seconds off Hayden Gullis. He's 8/10 off of him. So Infratic actually looking to take the advantage. He's going to want to move past as soon as he possibly can. And is it going to be him? Not quite. He will look to open the DRS. The first time this race that it's been available, as he almost taps the rear of Gullis. Was it contact?
There was contact. There was a really big counter steer on the steering wheel, and I think that was just getting hooked up with the rear tires of Hayden Gullis. No wing damage there, I don't think, but that was ever so tricky there, as we've got the usual fighting through the chicane. Cryzix might take the lead of the race here. He's right tucked up behind the rear wing of Dark Viper GT. Could be our first position change for the lead, as Cryzix does indeed go past a leads change, and it's looking like Dark Viper is not trying to attack there, as we've got Hayden Gullis past Guats. That was not on my bingo card, I will be honest, but he's making those harder compound tires work for the moment. This is looking like an incredible choice of strategy for the moment.
Yeah, and Sector 2 is where he's going to really benefit, because that's where he gets the DRS. That's where his loss is pretty much negated. And with that DRS, it actually plays into his advantage, which is why he was able to get past Guats. And I'm sure which is why Guats is going to get past him as they head back into Sector 2. But they have to work together now. Even though Hayden is on the ideal strategy, considering how he's working, Guats needs to get past. Infratic needs to get past. Look, considering his pace so far this race, Luke Howick also needs to get past. And Razin will want, well, he'll want any sort of points from this race, because he didn't have the greatest sprint. So he will want to get past as well. Hayden is a wanted man, and they will all want to get past as soon as they possibly can. The first opportunity is going to come down this straight, and Guats will open up the DRS. Now he's going to come across that line. He's going to start closing in on Hayden. But is it going to be enough? Because Hayden's straight line speed is very much strong. He's planned for this strategy, but Guats is down the inside. It's a double lockup from Hayden Gullis, which confirms the position for Guats, but he gets an incredible exit. That is insane. And he draws alongside. He gets the DRS on Guats, which is going to be crucial in him retaining that third position. That was incredible. He just got that turn and compromised the entry to that chicane, and the exit was massively benefited from that. So he gets back ahead of Guats, and that will be frustrating for Guats and for Infratic right behind them. Although Luke, the DRS is not going to be available for him unless he can get a wriggle on, catch up to Infratic as they get to that straight. But for the moment, Hayden Gullis continues to lead Gwatz, and in a few laps' time, those tyres are going to be the best ones.
Well, I was going to say, yes, Hayden using all of his sort of experience behind the wheel to sort of calculate where he could make that switchback, which was absolutely glorious. And the defense just, sometimes the best defense is an attack, and he went for it and he got the move back. It's looking like he's leaving himself vulnerable there, but looks like Watts didn't want to go that one, didn't fancy it. And indeed, yeah, the tyres now will be on their switchover phase, where the softer compound tyres are probably starting to drop off a cliff right now. In terms of strategy, it is interesting because it did look during the sprint race that everybody went for the harder compound tyre. So could it be that the softs are just too soft in this race, and that Hayden is going to have maybe a little bit of problems later on? We'll have to wait and see. As are we going to see the exact same thing again? Hayden's a little bit further back, but DRS helping him out. He's already alongside. He's got the inside line, and he's got the move done once again, even before the corner has even appeared on his radar, and through he goes again. It's really, really impressive to see they are losing exactly 0 time. In fact, they're gaining time even while battling. So maybe they're even working together, trying to close up that little gap that they have, which is now only 1.8 seconds to the lead pack, with Kryzik's leading still from Dark Viper at the moment. It'll be interesting to see how this one pans out. There's still a load of question marks here, as we're seeing some slight oversteer also starting to creep in on some of these cars.
Definitely, as their tyres wear more, and Hayden will be played back into this battle. We've got a few other drivers who are going to be on the mediums, as that is Blackmere round again. He's down into last place behind even Tiamat Marduk. But yeah, Hayden is the lead driver on the mediums. We've got Chesnoid, F1 Alex, Gareth Allen and Jess Ball on those mediums as well. Gareth Allen actually could be a threat later on in this race, because he showed that he had that pace early on. He's down in P13 at the moment, right behind Pondon. Pondon's, I think he's only just going to have DRS on Adam Sanderson. But Gareth Allen, as you say, we enter the switchback phase now. He could have the opportunity to climb up the grid. And if he gets this strategy right, he's P4 at the moment of the medium runners. He could quite easily climb up because of the pace he's shown so far this race. He gets past Pondon down the straight. He won't have the DRS on Adam Sanderson, and so the likelihood is that Pondon dives down the inside. It looked like he's just completely lost it, and he's gone straight on. He's picked up 13 seconds worth of penalties. So essentially, he's not going to be somebody that Gareth Allen thinks about much more in this race. He's not going to be somebody that a lot of them think about more in this race. And I would quite like to find out, and I'm sure we'll find out post-race, what actually happened to Pondon there. But Hayden Gullis, in the meantime, he's been able to stay 1.9 seconds behind Dark Viper, as that is Gwatz. Is that Gwatz or is that Infratic coming into the pits at the end of this lap? It was both of them, after all. So Gwatz and Infratic really see this as the crossover point. The mediums really worked for everybody in that sprint race. The softs weren't even considered for 12 laps. We've got 17 laps here. And so 10 laps on those mediums is definitely manageable, as nobody seemed to be struggling for grip at the end of that sprint race, and they would have been pushing significantly harder. But at the moment, it's really looking as though the mediums could have been the tyres to go on at the start of this race. But Dark Viper and Kryzik's, they're both on the softs, and they're both battling for the lead of this race. Kryzik's just has that gap over Dark Viper for the time being, but DRS is going to be available for him as he heads out of the chicane, looking to hook it up as well as Hayden Gullis could a couple of laps ago. I can't get over that move, to be honest. But Dark Viper closing in. Is it going to be by enough? He's going to look to the outside, but Kryzik's just positions his car perfectly. And you think at least one of these drivers is going to come into the pits on this lap.
Well, quite possibly. It did look like Dark Viper was kind of not toying with Kryzix, but sort of strategically positioning himself in second place to get that DRS, although that mistake there will put him a few tenths behind. Yeah, some interesting strategies here. I wonder who will dip first on the front pack there. Hayden Gullis is still within fighting range here, as it looks like both of them are into the pits actually at the same time. Kryzix going in, very late call it looked like. And will they get it stopped? It looks like just getting it stopped by the line. So lap 7 looks like the last gasp for the soft compound tires, or the softer compound tires, I should say. And indeed, now Hayden Gullis has to put pedal to the metal, let's call it, and go for those fastest laps, try and get the offset of strategy, because he will be coming back through the pack. Although the pack looks quite split up at the moment, as quite a few people getting 10-second penalties there in the pit lane. So you're sincerely retiring from the race. I think just deciding that the pace isn't there. The obviously maybe picking up a penalty as well. It's not gone well for a few of our drivers. I think also there's a difficulty in this track where you've got such a long straight that you're looking in your mirrors, you're looking where the other car is. You don't necessarily look at the right time where your braking zone is at the end of that very long straight, and that may be where Pondon got it wrong a little bit. So definitely a very strategic track where you have to have your wits about you, and we're seeing that from certain drivers. As we've got Dark Viper all over the back of Kryzix once again. They've gone into the pits, they've changed tyres, and nothing has changed for the moment. Will we see actually both of them holding each other up to Hayden Gullis's benefit? We will have to wait to see.
Well, that's what everybody on the grid, all of the top 5 runners who are all the ones who haven't pitted yet, that's what they'll be waiting for, and that's what they will be hoping for as Kryzix covers off Dark Viper. But they're smarter drivers than that. They know that they're going to have to work together if they want to climb up the grid, and so far that pace has been strong. They've caught up by a second to Jess Bull, who's the last runner of those medium runners on that previous lap, and they're looking to gain even more. That's a driver round. I think that may be Tiamat Marduk again.
It's looking like it. Yeah, the gap has gone up by 6 seconds. It's Tiamat Marduk.
It must be. So yeah, Hayden Gullis leads this race. Kryzix has caught up by a second and a half in just that last sector on Jess Bull, and now you can see how close that gap is, how much it's closing down as they head across the line. Luke Howick, in the meantime, picks up a 3-second time penalty. So even though he was part of that lead group, he could be seeing to drop a little bit off of it now because of the fact that he's picked up that 3 seconds and because of the fact that they were all so close. But from the looks of things, there is plenty of support for Luke Howick. So that will disappoint a few of our viewers, but you never know. He could come back into the fight. We saw Dark Viper and Luke Howick both with 3-second time penalties fighting for P2, so never say never. But now you can see that Kryzix is within the DRS of Jess Bull. Jess is within the DRS of Gareth Allen. We could be seeing a 4-car battle as we head to the end of this DRS zone. It's side by side between Kryzix and Jess Bull. It's 3 wide as they get Gareth Allen involved, and Kryzix climbs up. Dark Viper gets himself involved as well. He's ahead of Jess, and now he's ahead of Gareth. So those two actually picking up that move incredibly well, and they have been able to just get past them with no problems at all. So they're up into 4th and 5th, and Hayden Gullis has pulled the trigger. He's into the pits. The mediums will be coming off. The softs will be coming on, and he's the only one of that lead pack of those medium runners who comes into the pits from those mediums to the softs. So he pulls the trigger first. Can he take that undercut on the rest of them to start with? And after that, can he gain on the rest of that front group?
Well, it's certainly looking like the better strategy to do at the moment. 7 laps was exactly what they went on those tyres at the start of the race. So with lesser fuel and more drivers battling on those harder compound tyres now, he should have a chance to get through the pack. It's certainly looking like he's got 8 drivers to get through to the lead, but they're all apart from Actually, no, F1 Alex and Chesnoid Gaming at the front are still out on their original tyres. So actually, he's only got 6 drivers to get through. This is looking like a brilliant strategy, as we've got a load of battling from for Gwatz and Gareth Allen there battling. Just losing a lot of grounds there on those older compound tyres, staying out quite a long time on those harder compound. So yeah, definitely getting in the way of drivers, but that's their rights. They're allowed to go for it, and I think Gareth Allen just chucking it up the inside as well. So yeah, just not wanting to give up that position. He's entitled to do that. He's entitled to battle, and he's making the most of it as going all the way around the outside, and indeed he's made it stick on older compound tires. You have to give him credit for that. That is incredible driving, just to be opportunistic once again for the second time in 2 races, although it almost looked like he left the gap open there on the inside. He's still defending like a lion. This is brilliant as Dark Viper cements his place at the moment as the lead front runner here, as yeah, Gareth Allen is just being the huge cork in the bottle right now, trying to keep all of these drivers behind. He's made a small mistake, allowed the driver to get up his inside there. This is not going to go well. 2 wide, near enough 3 wide there through the initial couple of turns, and now they are 3 wide. Oh, collision! Gareth Allen just colliding. I think that was with Hayden Gullis, and that is not going to be great as Gareth Allen goes all the way around. That is not what you want to see. Just too many drivers fighting for the same bit of track. That was always going to be happening. We've got another driver around, Infratic. How has that happened? Probably a secondary contact or something. I didn't really see that.
I think the initial contact was between Gareth and Infratic, but then it just looked like Gareth ended up, or one of them ended up going straight on and collecting Hayden in the meantime. But something that we ended up missing is Hayden Gullis caught right back up to that group. He is now not that far behind the lead 2.
Wing damage,
he's got 5 seconds. Has he got wing damage?
You can see he's got wing damage right there on our screen. That is bad news. Exactly what he had to avoid. Wing damage on both sides of the wing, I just want to point out. And it looks like severe wing damage on one side. He's going to have to pit, and that's a virtual safety car. So might give him a little bit of a chance of salvaging something from this race, but that's not what you wanted to see. And Zach RC getting, unfortunately, a penalty for that, as we're right back to racing already. That's a really short virtual safety car. And I think that's caught out quite a few of our drivers here, as they're all tripping up over each other right now. There's a huge amount of battling going on, as yeah, everything is changing position right now, and quite a bit of wing damage from a lot of drivers at the moment, as we see Luke Howick and Razanchi, I think, fighting behind there, as Hayden Gullis decides to not go into the pit. So he's decided that the damage is not so severe that he can just keep fighting, hopefully keep that 4th place. I think, unfortunately, in terms of getting a podium, you can see that understeer. Look at the car just not turning in the high speed. He's going to be so vulnerable on the brakes here, as it looks like everybody trips up over themselves once again. A story of all times for this race.
There's something else to notice in the meantime is that Cryzix and Dark Viper have been fighting. These are the 2 that pretty much haven't tripped up with anybody all race long, and they're the 2 that are fighting now. There's been 0 mistakes so far this race between these 2, and they're going to be side by side as Cryzix just stays ahead. And that goes actually to prove my point, because it could have been a mistake to go side by side there. Gwatz is closing. You can see him in the background there. He is closing, and he would have closed even more had they gone side by side. In the meantime, there's a ferocious battle, by the way, between Luke Howick and Hayden Gullis. From the looks of the timing sheets, Luke has the top at the moment, but Hayden to the inside. He's fighting for his life out there, and well, he pretty much has to, because he's going to lose significant amounts of time with that wing damage now. He just needs to stay fighting through those corners as he picks up an unsurprising 3-second time penalty. He's struggling to turn through the corners because he's basically missing half a front wing.
Went off.
That was a driver going straight on. Razin went straight on. I saw somebody go wide. I didn't realise quite how wide he went. He's gone off. It looks like he's hit the wall and retired from the session.
That's a virtual safety car once again, so no safety car still caused in this race. And it looks like we have another driver stopped on track. Is Tiamat Marduk stopped on track? That's an interesting one. In the middle of a straight. I'm sure there's a story behind that one. But yeah, what an incredible turn of events. We've had so many small interruptions to this race, as I think Timothy Marduk is doing some funny things right now. Not working out for him at the moment, thankfully. But yes, indeed, trying to cause a little bit of chaos in this race, as Kryzix is looking very under pressure right now, as Gwatz is closing back in on the leads too. I think for Hayden Gullis, the one thing that he can look back is to F1 Alex, who is about 10 seconds off of Hayden Gullis at the moment. He can maybe defend that if and only if they start battling for that 7th place, because that's still good points in the feature race. Points going all the way down to 15th place or 16th place, if I remember correctly. And so, you know, that's a good point haul compared to some drivers who aren't scoring any points whatsoever this race.
Definitely, especially considering the fact that, well, yours sincerely, I know for a fact he's had a double DNF. He has not picked up any points in this race. But a lot of the drivers are... It's a full safety car from the looks of things.
Yeah,
it's a full safety car. So I'm not surprised to see the drivers come in. Yeah, absolutely. It does change everything. As they're all most likely going to come in for softs, for pretty much new softs. That was a good spot there by the chat, to be honest. But that everyone's going to come in. And that is side by side. Hayden Gullis trying to overtake Luke Howick in the pit lane. It's not worked. It's not worked. He watched Jarno Otmir try to do it yesterday and fail. He wanted to go better. It didn't work. And so he's picked up 10 more seconds worth of penalties. And that could be his fight for the lead over, as Kryzix and Dark Viper, they will see their lead completely eradicated. F1 Alex has not come into the pits. He climbs up into 3rd place. I think he's not come into the pits. I'm pretty sure about that. But he's behind. Yeah, F1 Alex didn't come into the pits because he only pitted 2 laps ago. But what will be frustrated by that? He saw this. He will have seen this as his opportunities. Hayden Gullis is disqualified from the session, and that's unfortunate for him today.
Yeah, it is indeed not going well for a few drivers. I think Hayden just venting a bit of his frustration with how that race has gone. He had it all within his grasp, and just a few moments battling with other drivers in the chaotic situation, it just did not go his way. And sadly, circuit racing is a bit like that. You've got other drivers to contend with, so that means that all the battles aren't necessarily going to go your way. But a very sad end to what was an absolute terrific race for him. And yeah, indeed, the safety car just resets everything at the moment, to be honest. For Hayden, it was going to be an insurmountable task to get those 10-second penalties and to just cut through the field again. Some drivers have actually got very, very lucky, like F1 Alex, who, although on slightly older tyres, has effectively gained a huge amount of ground compared to where he was. He's now back in the fray, back into the DRS range of the first 2. Although we've got a few drivers that are still on the harder compound tyres and very old tyres, and they surely should be diving into the pits at this time, because the safety car is staying out another lap.
I wouldn't be surprised if we do see them come in, but it looks like they are going to continue on. So that's very interesting from the perspective of Hoodie Pete and Poddenden, the 2 that we're going to highlight there, who are on those older medium compound tyres. I think they're hoping that up the top there's a little bit of a scrap that sees them maybe able to take the opportunity, but there's no real reason why they did. The only reason that I can think of that they didn't come in is they didn't have a new set of soft compound tyres. But a lot of the drivers were able to at least go on to worn ones. So that's a very odd call from Hoodie Pete and Ponden there. I'm sure there's reasoning behind it, other than just forgetting the tyres that they're on. It could be the fact that they're comfortable on those mediums, and they saw those mediums work. They saw those mediums work in the sprint. Under this safety car, they're able to conserve them as much as they can. They will have a slight disadvantage of that straight restart, but as these drivers trip over each other, Hoodie Pete and Pond, I'm trying to think of a way to spin this where it is a good strategy, but they'll know those mediums is what I mean.
I don't see how that can pay out for them. They're on 7-lap older tires than most of the field. Maybe indeed the softer compound tires will go off in the closing lap of this race, maybe, and even that add a push. I just think, to be honest, they've got themselves back up into the safety car pack, and they just don't want to be caught trying to gain pace on the safety car, which is coming in this lap. That's probably why they didn't pit. They thought that maybe they couldn't catch the pack by the end of it, so they were kind of out of it if they did pit. And we see Kryzik's warming the tires, getting ready for the restart. Oh, so crucial here to give the safety car enough time to get back to the pits. You can get yourself a penalty. If you don't do that, then all other sorts of shenanigans can happen as the strategic mind games, the psychological games start. And has Kryzik gone for it? Kryzik has indeed gone very, very early. The safety car just pulling into the pits there, so timing it to perfection. And Dark Viper has got caught napping here a little bit with F1 Alex right behind him, it must be said. So Kryzik with the advantage here, and indeed that will give him a tiny bit of breathing room with only 2 laps to go. This is going to go down to the wire.
Chesnoid Gaming really missing the opportunity at the start. You can see there that gap that's already built up between the top 4 and the rest of the field. 1.8 seconds between Gwatz at the back of that top 4 and Chesnoid Gaming at the top of that battle for 5th place. So it's really going to be between these 4 drivers, Kryzik, Dark Viper, Gwatz and F1 Alex. With Kryzik, who's taken the opportunity, he leads the race this current moment. Dark Viper has shown strong pace the whole way through. Gwatz is just defending from F1 Alex. There's a gap that's building as well.
He was around the outside of F1 Alex, if I saw that correctly. So what an incredible move. And F1 Alex looking to get the position back now. But that was absolutely insane. Late braking, just opportunistic. And I think he had to get the move done there because he's on the fresher compound tires. He still has a chance if the top 2 is Dark Viper really nearly missing the braking zone completely and going for a little spin, almost just managing to catch the car there. But they are pushing to the limit here. It's almost a qualifying session on the last 2 laps of this Grand Prix. Nothing, well, I'd say nothing to lose, but there's a podium to lose here. So they are all just throwing everything at it.
They are, and Gwatz is out of the DRS of Dark Viper. So at this point, you'd think that it's the 2 that have fought for the lead this entire race, who have just 1 lap to go, who will be fighting for the victory. On board with Dark Viper at the moment as he closes down Kryzik. He's not going to be close enough, but DRS is going to be at his disposal for the final lap of the race. There's nothing that Kryzik can do to stop that. And he's going to come up to the line here and open that DRS. Try to pick up the slipstream as much as possible. Kryzik is going to try to avoid it. Looking to the inside, Dark Viper follows him. Dark Viper doesn't actually have DRS, so I think off that safety car, he did not get that DRS. And so he's going to have to make this move manually with slipstream, the old-fashioned way, and out of the chicane. He's going to try to close. He's within 5 tenths, but it's not going to be enough, is it? He is closing, but it's not gaining as much as he possibly could be. And it looks like, unless he makes an overtake in that difficult sector 3, that Kryzik is going to take the victory today. F1 Alex looking at a move on Gwatz, unable to make it. And Kryzik is going to lead into the final section. But Dark Viper closer than he has been since the safety car come in. Can he make a move on these last couple of corners? I don't think he can. And so Kryzik is going to hold on and take victory here in this feature race. Kryzik wins. Dark Viper in 2nd. Gwatz holds on to 3rd. He's the winner of the weekend with F1 Alex in 4th. Chesnoid Gaming, though, climbing up just ahead of F1 Alex across the line. A 10th is what Alex lost out on in that 3-second time penalty he picked up. Then it's Luke Howick, Adam Sanderson, Jess Ball, and Hoodie Pete, Gareth Allen, Pondon, Tiamat Marduk, and Zach RC will bring up the rear. But Kryzik and Dark Viper fighting all race long. But was it the right winner out of those 2?
Well, you have to play your strategy correct. You have to sort of get your start right, and I think that move initially for the win was the crucial one there, as Dark Viper was just not able to get past, even with DRS and even with all the strategizing with the safety car restart. Cryzix took all of those opportunities, made it so that he made absolutely no mistakes whatsoever, even when under pressure for the entirety of the race, it must be said. And that is just how to drive under pressure and how to bring it home. It was not easy for him. I think that is definitely the right winner of the race. Dark Viper, I must say, I think Dark Viper playing it a little bit cautiously and trying to gain as many points as possible for the championship at this stage. Another shout out to F1 Alex, though, doing an incredible job to get back up the order after that qualifying mishap. So we'll have a lot to talk about in the interviews coming up shortly. But yes, hopefully we'll be able to get a recap of the results there, as we can see the celebrations, quite rightly so, for these drivers. They have driven an incredible race. They have done some incredible moves. And it must be said, F2 always delivers on the Creator Series. It's absolutely incredible how much action we get in 17 laps there. You can see Cryzix, first place, Dark Viper, with another spectacular drive, just securing as many points as possible. Gratz in third place, Opportunistic, and Chesnoid Gaming fourth. Again, another good recovery drive. F1 Alex, it's a great drive, but not enough for the championship. Luke Howick will be very, very disappointed, I think, after that sprint race. Had a better possibility for him. Adam Sanderson, another person losing out there, with Jeff Bull. Jess Bull having a very, very good result there in 8th, and I think I'm being told that is her best result so far, which is incredible stuff, with Gareth Allen there also not being able to replicate the pace and consistency he had in the sprint race. So a lot of drivers there sort of demonstrating that they can be quick on occasion, but sometimes racing brings unexpected stuff and action and indeed collisions, sadly. And for some of our drivers, they will be left frustrated after that race, that it could have been something a lot better for them.
A lot of them definitely had the pace to be up there with those top two. It was just keeping it consistent, which is what those two managed to do. They barely put a foot wrong all race long. And for example, the likes of Hayden Gullis, he was probably the quickest driver out on track, but unfortunately he just got caught up in one too many incidents, and that really, really cost him at the end, because he really could have been up fighting with those top couple of drivers. But yeah, that's really the unpredictability of Creator Series, the fact that we can have one driver right at the top in the sprint, another one taking victory in the race. Because Luke Howick, remember, he was on the podium in the sprint race, unable to replicate that in the feature race. But yeah, incredible stuff.
Yeah, it happens. A plan for the race is essential, but not everything goes to plan. Usually turn one puts an end to your plan, at least according to my own experience in racing. But then again, these drivers have a lot more talent than I do in open wheel racing. So definitely a lot of encouragement, though, for the end 2 races now that we have left in this season. It's going to be really, really interesting to see who can indeed get that last bit of traction, literally and psychologically, to boost themselves up in the championship. Of course, the championship still wide open, with reports that perhaps Lolanoba might be coming back towards the end of the season to do a little title defense. I'll leave that one out there for the prying ears. But also, Dark Viper consistently gaining points, gaining a lead in the championship now, and F1 Alex and Adam Sanderson have it all to do for the moment. It's going to be 2 just amazing races, I am sure, with, if I am quite correct, Zandvoort and then Monza to finish off with. So actually two very different tracks to end off the season, 2 very challenging tracks which have different driving styles in mind. Of course, Zandvoort has a lot of fast flowing corners with not a lot of straights, so will suit the drivers that are used to those type of circuits. And then Monza, all about that last minute late braking, and all about playing for DRS zones and all of that. So we could see some very different results. I'm just checking also whether we have anybody to interview at the moment. It looks like we have Dark Viper possibly in for an interview in just a few seconds. Let's see if we can get him in to have the interview. Indeed, we are joined by Dark Viper in the commentary box here for a little bit of an interview. P2 in the feature race, but more importantly, a gain in the points lead at the championship standings. How would you consider that race?
I'm a bit. I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm a bit gutted because, like, I was just chilling. I was like, save the tires a bit because I was cooking them in practice. And then the safety car came out, and I wasn't gonna have DRS, so I had to do it on pace. And he was just so quick, man. Like, it's unreal. His exits were just perfect. Everything after the safety car, but it was a fun race.
So I'm getting the impression from that different setups were at play in this race. How difficult is it to develop a setup that has the right balance then for a track that has some very tight turns but also some very long straights? And do you think you made the right choice?
I just steal them off time trial every week, to be honest, mate. I used to make some changes and I'd be a bit more comfortable in the car, but it would cost me some like pace. And I thought like over the race it wasn't really worth it. So just big ups Formula Kareem, world record holder for that one.
Some good marketing there, that's for sure. But in terms of the championship at the front of the pack, that's kind of the perfect result that you could wish for. Sure, not the win, but a huge points gain compared to your rivals.
Yeah, I think it's like 27 points. Like I got that this weekend, so I'm still happy, you know. I kind of wanted to overtake Lolly this weekend in case he comes back, but not to be. Maybe it's next weekend. That one was for B-Roy though, guys. That was for B-Roy.
Yes, indeed, thinking a lot about B-Roy, and I think it's been in the back of our minds for the entirety of the race, to be honest. Obviously, with the difficult occasions, does that impact how you drive? Like, it's a very big sort of community spirit here. So I'm sure a lot of the drivers would have been racing in sort of thought with B-Roy. So did that affect the way things panned out in any way?
I don't think so. I mean, obviously I'm missing him because he was my teammate in F1 in Kick when I got a good Vegas result. He's always like so talkative in the VC, so like my thoughts are with him, man. Like it's just really upsetting, isn't it?
Indeed, I think that's the best word for it. Joseph, what do you think?
I think it is difficult to race with those sorts of thoughts on your mind, and I think in the end we were able to put on a spectacle that I think he would be very happy about.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he'll be okay. He's got all of us, so. We'll help
For the
him
first
through.
time during commentary, I'll have to say I've got a little bit of a lump in my throat, to be honest. Yeah.
Sorry,
Try and get some. No, it's very important. Very important. I will say also a closing question for you. Try and move on with the interview a little bit. I'm sure B-Roy would want us to ask you all of the difficult questions, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. What do you think about the last two closing circuits here? Do you think they're to your favour, or do you think you might struggle with them?
Oh, I love a bit of Netherlands and Monza, and like Monza's got to have some chaos in it, so I'm looking forward to that. Hope to see Lolly back though, because I'd like a bit of a, like obviously Kryzik is quick, but I'd like it to actually be a fight, you know, because he's worked so hard for the championship in the early course of the season with his promotion to F1. It'd be nice if he could like round it off, you know.
Sounds like a showdown for the last two events. Well, we'll hope to see that happen. And until then, all the best of luck with the next two rounds. And yeah, I think job well done from your point of view.
Yeah, thank you guys.
It's our pleasure. Yeah, what an amazing drive from him. I think like it went all the best that it could for him. And yeah, one of the drivers we have as well for the interviews is Squats, whatever you want to call him. He's been currently muted, actually, unfortunately for us at the moment, so we're going to have to wait. Unmuted now. There we go. Okay, good timing.
Hello?
Hello. I'm not going to pronounce your name because it's been a talking topic about how to pronounce it. But indeed, that was a very interesting race from your perspective. And I think just opportunism and just skillful overtaking did it for you, didn't it?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, John. Yeah, I think it's it's tricky because I hate starting on pole, which not a lot of people say, but it's like you have extra. I feel like you kind of have extra pressure starting on pole. So I messed up my lap a bit, the chicane. So I felt like we could have been like maybe P2 or P1. Starting in fourth is kind of what did it because we had a bad start, and then I basically braked way too late, and then just me and Hayden had a little thing. So it was basically over from lap one because especially on a track like this, I mean it's similar to Abu Dhabi 2010. Like if those guys have the it's like almost impossible to catch other cars, especially when they're trading DRS. So it was basically over already, but yeah, happy to get a podium and sprint win as well was good. So yeah.
So would you say that the safety car helped you or acted to a detriment on your situation then?
Well, it's tricky because obviously Viper and Kryzik are very fast, but especially Australia, is a perfect example of the fact that it's not Alex's fault, obviously. If we beat Alex in the pits, I felt like I could have won because I've already done that before, like 2 races ago, So if we came up P3 after the full safety car, I think I could have won because, like I said, I've already done that. But it definitely helped me, I think. Yeah, because it at least gave me a chance, and then I messed it up on my own by making a mistake on Alex and all that. But yeah, it could have helped me.
I tell you what, Joseph, I've been hogging the questions a little bit. I'll pass over to you for one.
That's fine. We asked this question to Dark Viper, and I'll repeat it to you because I've not got any original questions that are coming to the forefront of my mind right now. But we asked him about setups, and we know that Abu Dhabi is a very difficult track to get the setup right because there's those 2 huge straights which could be massively beneficial to you, but there's also a very tricky sector 3, which is a completely different beast. How do you go about setting up for this race?
I think it's tricky. I think because obviously, like even before I came back to F2, like I just enjoy driving F2 cars. I think the F2 cars in this game are really, really weird. So you'll see a lot of the time trial setups will have on F1, you're seeing people with like minimum 10 wing gap. But F2, there's certain setups where it's like a 0 wing gap, But this is one of the tracks where we could run a bit of a wing gap. Because it's just like, it actually works quite well with the cars. I think we had, I don't know, it's tricky because I felt like I was quite fast in a lot of the corners. But we didn't have bad pace on the straights. It's just, yeah, it's very tricky to try and find a balance. And especially in these F2 cars, they're so hard to drive as well. But yeah, I think I'm pretty confident in those kind of corners anyway to just keep it flat, So we could sacrifice it a little bit and just have less wings, basically, to have a bit more speed. But it's very tricky on a track like this, definitely.
And
so what I'm hearing...
Oh,
no, sorry, carry on, Joseph.
And how do you manage the difference between the setup from the sprint to the feature? Because they're 2 very different types of race. The feature's a lot more management and a lot more strategy than the sprint. So how do you manage it as you go over between the 2?
I think it's a bit weird with the... It was weird for me because I got very, to be fair, obviously I did win the sprint, but like I got quite lucky to win the sprint because I just kind of cut through everyone at the start. So the sprint was more like I could use it a little bit to just feel like how, like I was pushing pretty much every lap, even though I didn't necessarily need to. I just got to kind of use it as just to see how the mediums actually were, because I hadn't done many medium tire laps. So for me, it was just more about like not necessarily changing the setup as much, but like I just used it as a bit of testing to see how the mediums were, because I knew I was going to do a long stint in the feature as well. So not everyone has the opportunity to do that because they're normally battling. But yeah, for me, I was just using it to test the mediums as best I could, basically.
It's a great strategy, to be fair. But also what I'm hearing from your description of setup and all of that, it's looking confident then for next round in the Netherlands. What do you think about that one? Because if you like the turns and sort of getting the best exit, best traction out of that, that seems like your kind of track.
Yeah, I think it's I think that will be my kind of track. Not gonna lie, I think I can go. I can be very late on the brakes, and like I have a bit of a running joke with my mod that like sometimes it'll just look like impossible, you know, but I can still get it slowed down quite well. So I think turn 1 will be a good one for Zambor. And then, yeah, I love tracks like that. I really like it in F1. So I haven't done any laps of it in F2, but I think I will enjoy it at least. So that's good. As long as I'm enjoying it, then I don't really mind where I finish. So, yeah.
Getting Daniel Ricciardo vibes. This is good. this seems good. Last little late break.
We say Kamui Kobayashi because he's the real latest on the brakes, obviously. But
indeed. Yeah, well, I can only hope that it goes well for you in the last 2 races. Of course,
thank you very
always
much,
want
mate.
to end out the championship.
Sorry,
doing the best
I don't want to interrupt you. It's just in case I don't get to say it. I just wanted to say, I'm sure Viper said this as well. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, John. But obviously, a community member, B-Roy, sadly had a passing in his family this week. So I know it's only a video game, you know, but I would want to dedicate this win to B-Roy and his family because he's a very loved member of the community. So I just wanted to take the chance to say that obviously we all love B-Roy. We're all praying for him. So yeah, this one's for B-Roy and his family. And rest in peace to his mum as well. So yeah, big love to B-Roy. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Very honourable of you. The pleasure is ours. And again, great result for you.
Yeah, thank you,
See
guys.
you
Great
time.
commentary as usual, I'm sure. Lovely to speak to you all. I'll see you in a bit. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I don't think we have an interview with Chrysler. Who are we thinking driver of the day? What do you think, Joseph?
Across the 2 races, I think I'd have to give it to Guat, because he was just first and third it can't really be sniffed at. So I think Guat.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. There was quite a few sort of, as he described it himself, some opportunistic moves getting up. He called it luck. There's only a small percentage of luck. It's mostly skill, maneuvering. You have to know exactly what you're doing. So I will fully agree with that. We've seen so much incredible racing, and one of the problems is choosing a driver of the day is kind of choosing one little bit of action from all the great action we have had. And I do want to echo what our drivers have said, that I am just grateful to all of the drivers for providing such an entertaining show for, you know, week-on-week action, but also for B-Roy, and in memory of B-Roy's dear mother. And once again, I'm going to echo that our thoughts, and indeed my thoughts, are definitely with him. And sadly, I think that there is no better way really than to end the show on that, really, because the most important is the community spirit in all of this. There's a reason the drivers show up. There's a reason the drivers compete in a more friendly manner in the Creator Series. Although some moves actually maybe be on the verge of friendly, but we'll leave that up to the drivers. So some closing notes can be that the Creator Series can be found on all of the medias that you can see above here for some more content and action. As always, tomorrow will be the F1 racing as usual. I'm sure it's going to be ever so entertaining, probably even more chaotic than the F2 stuff. Joseph, where can we find you on your social medias?
So if you type that, hang on, I'm going to try and find it there. If you type that into any social media, I'll come up with hopefully a few clips of commentary, not only from tonight but across the board.
Indeed. And for me, you know, for all crashes and stuff like that, usually just crashes, you can find me as Amusing on all of the social medias. And I just want to give a shout out to our producer, Monkey Matt, for this evening. Some great work on the producing side of things, some useful information in our ears as well, and doing the most difficult job, I'd say, in the background. So a wonderful thing. And so the closing thing is going to be just once again to B-Roy. The entire community is with you in this very difficult time. And we wish you all the best, and words cannot really describe in this time what you must be feeling. So On that, I will say a very, very wonderful evening to all of you. Thank you ever so much for watching, and if you can, send your support to B-Roy. See you next week.